All right, let's get back into it. So before we cut it off, we were talking about we were going to get into the fears of black people, white people.
Yeah, well, that comes off of this whole thing about, you know, whites who have been in control for so long now want to maintain control, and that fear of black domination or Asian domination or Indian domination or Latino domination. Hold on a second. There's the white power structure, the ruling class, or whatever you want to call it, and then there's the regular white people. The regular white people could give a shit who rules them or whatever, for the most part, from what I see. Because I know white people who work for black companies, and they're like, when I worked for white companies, I wasn't treated this good. And there's a lot of white folks that I performed for that didn't care what color I was. They just were hoping that I would be funny and entertaining. And a lot of them started requesting me to be on stage. So that's the regular white people. And just as I told you earlier that we were taught as Caribbeans about African Americans and what African Americans are, blah, 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 whites are taught that about black people in general. So that creates what everybody calls white fragility, white fear,
White guilt.
white guilt. It's all bullshit. It's just a pedagogy that's been brought to certain groups of people, and in this case, we're talking about white people, who've been taught that if black people take over, they're going to put white folks in slavery, just like white. Black people don't think on that level. First of all, if the slaves took over, then maybe that would have happened. But we are not slaves anymore. We don't have that, anger and animosity as much as the slaves had. Yeah, we were like, yo, what the fuck? And today we got some attitude, but we're not going to enslave white people. That's not what the fuck we do, and that's not what the fuck we ever did. We never enslaved and beat and killed people to come up. And that's the fear that the elite powers are putting into the regular white folks. But they have got to figure out another end game, because that's how they keep in control. I always say white people are the cartilage that keeps the bones from rubbing. And the bones that they're keeping from rubbing is the white people against the rest of the world. And once the regular white people move out of there, those bones are going to rub. Let me tell you something. If this bone is stronger than this bone's going to get eaten. And the rest of the world, Asians, Africans. Are we going to continue?
There we go. Yeah, we can continue.
Oh. So, these mics are working?
No, that mic is working.
Okay. So, look, man, like I said, I went to school with these dudes. One time we was hanging out in a restaurant. We was hanging out in a restaurant with these African brothers. There was a restaurant on 26th Street. It's like the West African restaurant. They serve mad food. It's a buffet and shit. So we always used to go there and hang out and give, black people money. We didn't go to McDonald's. We didn't go to an Italian restaurant. We went straight to this African spot on 26th Street. And then when we're leaving the spot, there was these two African brothers with us. I forgot where they were from. And it's like, yo, where y'all going? Yeah, I'm going home, man. And where you going? Oh, we are going to the library in Columbia and study. It is 24 hours. It was 2 in the morning.
Wow.
So, and them two niggas wasn't the smartest ones. I'm telling you, man, the future is not going to be a racist future. The future is going to be a collective future. It's going to be some Wakanda shit. And Wakanda is motherfucking real. And if you don't get on this vibranium shit, it's not that you're going to get killed. You just going to get left behind. It's like AI. If you don't start using AI, you're going to be left behind. if you don't start dealing with the rest of the world on a fair and equal level and think that because you are X, Y, and Z, you're superior, you're going to be left behind. Mm-hmm. It's that simple.
I heard recently some guy speak about, like, this professor in China. He speaks about, like, the disrespect of the. I mean, America doesn't realize or declares China as an equal competitor. They still see China as an inferior competitor. But yet, America depends wholly or heavily on China to make their products, make all these things. The advancement of China is pretty far.
America doesn't depend on China in as much as people think. Mm-hmm. America works with China because shit is cheaper in China, because Chinese labor, at some instances, is slave labor. Chinese, they have a lot of shit they need to do to get out of that construct where people aren't getting paid, a livable wage or a healthy salary. But nonetheless, China took 800 million people out of poverty. We don't have 800 million people in this country. They took 800 million people out of poverty. That's a lot of people to take out of poverty. So with the Chinese way of dealing with their labor, when they say they take 800 million people out of poverty, you got to respect that. America doesn't manufacture anything because the money that's taken from American business is exploitive. Mm-hmm. So they have to start union so you could get paid a decent wage. The American businesses don't want to pay a decent wage. Should an iPhone be, $1,800? No. iPhone is an idiot box, but they pay maybe $100 for that phone, market it like crazy, and then sell it to you for $1,200-$1,500. If the iPhone was $500, the best iPhone, Apple will still make a healthy profit. Mm-hmm. You got to understand, when a guy is selling you a slice of pizza for $3, that pizza doesn't cost him 2 cents. That pizza probably cost him about maybe 20 or 30 cents to make. And then he's got overhead, he's got all kinds of stuff. It's the same thing with Apple. Apple don't pay, 2,000 times more, or 2,000 times less. I mean, Apple don't have to charge 2,000 times more for that product. Mm-hmm. Because they don't pay that amount of money. And it's not just Apple, it's all these other companies, like the sneaker companies. They don't have to charge stuff and over. Mm-hmm. But that's why shit ain't made in America. Because if shit was made in America, you'd have people manufacturing sneakers, you have people manufacturing cell phones. Not only that, they get the cell phone materials from Africa. Out of the Congo, out of Africa. So ain't slaving Africa for that. So you're telling me that you're a brilliant company. You're telling me that you're on a top Fortune 500. You're telling me that your CEO is brilliant. You're telling me that your technology is brilliant. But you got fucking 7-year-old boys digging holes for you in the Congo. How smart is your business when slavery is your business model? Dang. And that is what the world is going against. You got this chick in Italy, the prime minister or president of Italy. She's talking about the bambinos in the Congo, digging out stuff. Bambino in Italy, in Italian, means baby, right? She said, you got babies digging out the stuff in the ground. What are you doing? And she's like, I'm not trying to do this. This is not me. This is not our civilization. This is not who we are. Yeah, I'm white, but I'm not trying to do this. Mm-hmm. And that's where the world is going. But Apple wants to be the first $1 trillion company. They're a $2 trillion company. You're a $2 trillion company. Because you're exploiting and enslaving the shit out of the people who dig your technology out of the ground for you. And then you manufacture in China. They had people jumping out of the window. This is how bad it was. There's a company called Foxconn. They said they had people jumping out of the window because the work was so bad, working for Apple in these companies. So they put nets at the window. So when they jump, in China.
This was a few years back. I don't know what the Chinese are doing right now, but like I said, I can't tell a country who took 800 million people out of poverty how to run their shit.
Right.
Now I'm not Chinese. I mean, I live in America. I'm an American, so I gotta tell these motherfuckers what to do. So at the end of the day, when you see Russia, India, Pakistan, Iran, hordes of countries in Africa doing business with China, you have to look at yourself and say, well, why are these niggas running away from us?
Mm-hmm.
Europe is in turmoil. Europe has no idea what it's going to do.
Yeah, I've heard. I didn't know that. I didn't know because I'm not a historian, but I just listen to people that know what they're talking about, and I heard about that, and with this whole war,
And Europe can end that in a second.
Mhm.
Europe can end that, specifically France. France can end that in a second.
And what?
Their struggle, their problem, their economic issues. All you gotta do is make a phone call to them African nations and say, look, this white supremacy shit is done.
Mm.
Let's do some real business.
But I've heard a lot of the African countries have cut ties with France in a way of like getting them out of their country.
That's what I'm talking about, bro. This is in the book also. The 14 African nations that had to give a vast percentage of their money to France because they were using something called the Franco dollar or something, some Franco shit. It wasn't even Africa's money; it was French money that they had to use and have to buy the money, and they have to keep a certain amount of reserves in a French bank. And French was exploiting them all over. And some of these countries said, "Yo, that's done." Now France is in serious trouble. France was in trouble back in 2017 because they had the yellow vests out there. There were people beating the shit out of each other in the street. It was almost a reign of terror that was going to happen. And France is almost about to get that. But all France has to do is to eliminate its tax because Black people don't want to oppress nobody.
Mm.
Some sensible politician in France has to make a phone call and go, yo, let's meet in Morocco and discuss this. I need uranium for electricity. I need this for that. I need this for that. What do y'all need that we got? And France ain't got shit that Africa needs. You understand what I'm saying? That's like an ugly chick in the bar that's broke, trying to get at you, and you a multi-millionaire. And you looking at Shorty across, she got a law degree, okay, and a fat crib in the Hamptons. Who you getting with? Her or her?
Mm.
So that's what France is now. France is a fat chick at the bar trying to jive people. Now they got to come up. They got to come up with something that they could trade with Africa, or else they're going to have some serious problems. But they want to play this, we're white, we're French, and all that bullshit. It's like, yo, money, them days are over.
So everybody's
Now, this is a really, really bad divorce.
dang.
And this is why I say white folks need to read shit like Wakanda is real, because they need to really understand what their future is going to look like. And the future, they say the future is Africa. I don't say the future is Africa. I say the future is Black.
Mm.
Because they got Black people all over in. Maybe y'all will be the last niggas to wake up, but niggas in Brazil are realizing that they Black. Okay, niggas in Peru are realizing that they Black. Niggas in Cuba are realizing that they Black.
I mean,
You niggas are holding on.
It's not that we're holding on. Is the whole?
I just fucking.
I know, but the whole thing that got blown out of proportion because of that joke that the guy made.
What?
Which the I'm not black.
Yeah.
I'm not black. I'm not black.
Yeah.
I'm not black. And it's interesting topic, and I was talking about that with my brother last night. But it's because of all the things attached to what Black is that people are rejection.
It's not all the things that's attached to what Black is.
Well,
Nothing is attached to what Black is. It's what motherfuckers is attached to what Black is.
Exactly. There you go.
You know what I mean? You got, look, man, you could see some blackest motherfuckers on the planet. I mean, dark as fuck. And they're cutting open bodies and fixing hearts and lungs and livers and spleens. But because you don't see that on a regular basis, you don't believe it's possible.
Mm.
We were the first to do that shit. We were the first to have brain surgery because we were the first to have brains, nigga. So this is what's going on. This is why Wakanda is real, because what I'm mapping out, what I'm telling you is there's gonna be a Wakanda really, really soon, somewhere in Africa. There might be several Wakandas because they're working on it in Rwanda. They're working on it in Tanzania. They're working on it in Burkina Faso. They're working on it in Mali. You know, the only people that are slowing it down are the Nigerians. Once they fix that, that boat is going to float right where it needs to go.
What are the Nigerians doing?
Well, you got some old heads running Nigeria,
Oh, okay.
so they're still locked into this colonial master hookup. And what has to happen is that has to be fixed, or they have to be removed from power, so that the people who see the future of Africa in an African light uh, uh, take over and do what they need to do. But they say the future is Africa, the future is black. And more black people. And it's look, man, I'm not puffing shit up. Oh, the future is black. What you niggas about? It's just a fact.
It's just a fact.
And black people are not going to be flipping on other people just because they're in power. Because they would have done it in Spain when they ran Spain. They would have done it in Kemet when they ran the world. They would have done it in India. They never did that shit. You know, you had Ian Smith, who used to run a country called Rhodesia, which is now Zimbabwe. Well, Zimbabwe is actually the lady from the Black Panther. She's from Zimbabwe. The Okoye, she's from Zimbabwe. Well, she was born in Iowa, but her family's from Zimbabwe. And, you know, when they liberated Zimbabwe and took over from the white folks, Ian Smith was allowed to live in Zimbabwe untouched. This is the guy who was a murderous tyrant in Zimbabwe. When the blacks took over, they said, all right, let that nigga be. They could have chopped him up and mashed him in some mofongo. But they didn't. The same thing with the people in South Africa. When the South Africans took over, the whites were allowed to chill. They still haven't killed those white folks. But those white folks are still acting like they're superior. And one day that may happen with these brothers in Africa. It didn't look, man, I'm telling you, South Africans are some of the nicest people I have ever met in my life. Two types of people I met that were like the most beautiful people on the planet: Grenadians and South Africans. When I was in South Africa, let me give you an example of South Africa, right? I'm walking around, I'm in Johannesburg, I'm walking around in the marketplace, right? And I'm walking with this chick. She was like my guide helping me out, but it was my uncle's girlfriend. So I'm walking with her, and I got a soda in my hand, like some sort of a fruit drink they sold me. And I dropped the soda on the floor, right? And the whole marketplace, even the customers, all the people selling, the customers, sorry. Looking at these niggas, I'm like, what the fuck's going on? And they're all apologizing. Sorry. I said, yo, Miguel, what's wrong with these niggas? They said, Rajan, they are feeling sorry that you dropped your soda. They feel for your loss.
Wow.
And I was like, well, if these niggas feel so bad, would they buy me another fucking soda? She says, you bloody American. Insane. I was like, but that's how South Africans are. That's why they have not wholesale slaughtered those white people. And I don't understand why people don't get that. They don't get that. Yo, they outnumber these whites like crazy. They could say one day, yo, it's time. They don't need trucks. They don't need vans. They don't need guns. They could just walk up on these white people and beat the shit out of them with their hands. And it has never happened. So an example of what happens when blacks take over, which is going to be inevitable, is South Africa and Zimbabwe. They never took revenge on those people. You see what I'm saying? But these white folks got it in their head because nobody teaches them, man. Nobody taught them about the history of Zimbabwe.
They only teach about Haiti.
Right. So, well, the Haitians didn't rise up because the white folks were treating them right. The Haitian rose up. But even then, when the Haitians took their country, they didn't savagely brutalize white people. They did that in the war, but that's the war. But after the war was over, they didn't went over and start chopping people up and burning. It was like, yo, we got our independence, we got our flag. Any black person that comes to Haiti is a free man. Niggas was swimming from fucking Florida trying to get to Haiti to be free. Same thing with Mexico. Guerrero said, yo, any African or any black person who gets over to where we are, you a free man.
Guerrero.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Guerrero. Forgot his mother was black and his father was Spanish.
There's a part in Mexico called Guerrero.
Yeah, that's named after that dude. So, you know, this is where the world is going, and it's being led by China. It's really being led by China. Not only is it being led by China, it's being built by China. You know, because China is all over Africa. And some deals are bad, some deals are good. But if somebody builds you a train that's going to take your goods and services to a port in 2 days when it used to take you 6 days, you're going to deal with them people. You know, China wants to build a railway across, I think, the Pacific Ocean to bypass the Panama Canal.
Oh, wow.
Chinese are no joke, bro.
Yes.
They don't just sell fucking fried rice. The only problem with the Chinese, they got to be a little more fucking cool with the duck sauce in the restaurant. But other than that, and the Russians are leading the way also, and the Iranians are leading the way. And this is problematic because
where are they leading? Where are Russia's leading and the Iranians?
They're leading in reference to standing up to the Western world. You know, it's like anything else. You know, you got a bully in the schoolyard, and somebody stands up to the bully, and other people started standing up to the bully. The bully has no way to go because now there's 10 niggas ready to beat his ass. So they're standing up by standing their ground, holding their culture. North Korea, everybody think that's a crazy nation. North Korea has to be North Korea. They bombed 75% of their cities during the so-called Korean War. It wasn't a Korean war. Korea never started a war against nobody. You know? And then the same thing, every time.
Bombed Korea?
America bombed the shit out of Korea. That's why there's a North Korea and a South Korea. And the North Korean leadership are like, yo, you are not gonna take our country again. And say what you want about North Korea, the only reason North Korea is the way they are is because of the bombing that America did against them. But nobody wants to look at that. Everybody wants to say that that guy's crazy. Of course he's crazy. You made him crazy. You made that whole leadership crazy. And in order for you to save your nation, that's why the Iranians are run. That's why Irans are run by a bunch of Muslim mullahs. Because you had in Iran a democratic country back in the 50s. They overthrew the guy and then they put a tyrant in because they wanted the oil. The mullahs, they were in France chilling, reading the Quran, all that bullshit. And the students say, yo, we need some leadership. That's why they got an Ayatollah in the country. The Ayatollah is the spiritual leader. Everybody thinks he's the fucking president. No, that nigga's a priest. He's like the Pope of the country.
Oh, wow.
And then there's the president, and then there's the vice president, there's a prime minister, whatever the fuck they got in their country. But it's not run by a bunch of mullahs. But they have to lock their country down so that the Western world don't come in and fuck it up again. Because from 1953 to 1979, the country was a goddamn gas station. It was a terror going through the shit. And that's why Iran is like that. That's why North Korea is like that. Then they tried to blame Libya. You used to suck the oil out of Libya like crazy. It was your playground. Same thing with Cuba. Cuba's the same thing, you know. Cuba used to be a mafia zone. The whole place was run by the mob. It was a casino. You go over there, you get pussy, you get this, you get that, whatever, drink, boom, 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 you come back. And it's a country. There are human beings that live there. Castro and Che Guevara said, yo, fuck this, man. Y'all are tripping. Fuck out of here. And he kicked them out of the country. That was the revolution of Cuba. Cuba, it was like, oh, we wanted a communist thing. No, we voted you motherfuckers out.
Yeah.
Communism is bullshit, as we all know. But these people use this communism shit just to say we're not capitalists.
Right.
Communism is nonsense. Capitalism, the way it's done here, is nonsense. But every other country has to go either capitalist or communist. Like these dumb motherfuckers don't know their other ways. Muammar Gaddafi, they call him a Muslim communist. He wasn't a Muslim communist. He was doing some shit they were doing in Africa way before this bullshit. But if you're not a capitalist, you're a communist.
Right.
If you're not a communist, you're a capitalist. You can't be either or. Or you drop in some bullshit like socialism. Socialism works. No one fucking does. None of this white shit works. Communism and socialism, white political theories. Okay? Communism, socialism, capital, all white political theories. All these black countries want to go communist. Nigga, come up with your own shit.
Yeah.
Tell these fucking people who want black people.
Your own thing.
Oh, why can't a black person be Superman? Because Superman's white.
Come up with another.
Superman.
Yeah.
Why can't a black person be James Bond? Because James Bond's white. Come up with another. I don't want Shaft to be Dominican.
Right.
I don't want the Black Panther to be Puerto Rican. I want the Black Panther to be a black motherfucker.
To stay like that.
Right. I don't want Snow White to be some fucking Dominican chick. I don't want. I did Snow White, Snow White.
Right.
Write your own shit.
Right.
You know, do your own thing. They got dozens.
And that's how they keep people in this box, you know? These are the options. These are the options. When you present them with the options, you're playing up in someone's game.
You see how many characters you got that you drew up? You know how many black, mainly a lot of dudes, but I met a lot of black girls who draw superheroes. And they're brilliant. But they don't want to take those and take a risk on them and say, yo, let's make a movie about this little girl that you got. You know, we got stories all over. The Lion King, that's our story. The song is ours. We got to start making our own shit.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with anything else.
And it's happening now, you know, like the fact was that back in those days, there was no money pouring into this, or no one would be interested in watching, because even for the Black Panther, they give a lot of pushback, because no one was going to be interested in watching black people in the front of the camera, you know. And even in China, they embraced it. That was a shock, which China is called to be.
Let me tell you something about black
people. So for black people.
Let me tell you something about black people. Everything that black people do, motherfuckers want to see.
I heard about Have you heard about K-pop?
Yeah.
It's like hip-hop, but in Korea.
Yeah.
And in Mexico now, they don't call it hip-hop. Like when we were in Mexico, there was kids performing and stuff. They call it, and then we have the K-poppers.
It's just regurgitated African American music. It's not African music, it's Black American music. Regurgitated stuff. But the bottom line is, anything that black people do, white people are interesting. The world is interesting. When Jesse Owens was running in the Olympics in Germany, Germans were rooting for Jesse Owens. Hitler shook Jesse Owens' hands.
You see who Jesse Owens is? I don't know who this is.
Man, you're Dominican.
So you gonna say that all day, man?
All day, papi, all day.
If I say, oh yeah, Jesse.
Jesse Owens was an Olympic sprinter. He was like the Usain Bolt of the 1930s. And they said, the story goes, Hitler shook Jesse Owens' hands. And when Jesse Owens came back to America, the president of the United States wouldn't shake his hands.
Oh, I heard about that. Is that what they say? Like, oh, that they told black people that they were gonna be not treated good, and then Germany treated all the black people like royals, and then they get back to America.
I don't know about all
I heard about something like that.
I don't know about black people being treated as royals.
Not royals, but they were treated super nice, according to.
I don't know that.
I heard that recently.
Yeah.
So,
but
there were 3 Olympians that were in.
Yeah, they treated they treated the entertainers and the athletes good,
Mhm.
but they didn't treat the regular brothers good. You know, everybody treats the everybody like Michael Jackson,
Right.
but whether they like Tito Jackson is a different story. You know, so at the end of the day, you know, Blade was a movie I never even heard of.
Mhm.
Okay, Blade was a movie I never even heard of, and they say Blade is what saved Marvel Comics.
Oh yeah.
So
What do you mean you never heard of Blade?
I never heard of Blade. I'm not you, man.
Oh, like you never saw it. You
Never heard of Blade. I never knew what Blade was. Next thing you know, I know Wesley Snipes in passing.
Right.
He said, I'm going to be the new Blade. I was like, what the fuck is that?
Like you met him?
I've known him for years.
Oh, wow.
But I mean, he ain't my boy, but you know, I know that guy since I was like 19. But he told me he's gonna be the new Blade. And then my boy Andrew said, yo, Wesley's gonna be the new Blade. I said, yeah, he told me. I didn't know what the fuck he was talking about.
What?
I didn't know what Blade was, bro.
No, me, I didn't know either until I saw the movie.
Right.
You know, because I grew up watching the comics instead of reading it, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when he became Blade, that movie was made for mad cheap and it made a ton of money. I got the details in the book.
Mhm.
But you know, when Wesley made Blade, they should have known that Black Panther would have been next.
That long ago. But you know how long it took to make another Marvel superhero? Until Black Panther. So when was Blade made?
Blade was made in the 90s, I think.
I think 2000s, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see, Blade 1. Because then they did the trilogy. Blade 1, 19. Oh, you're right, 1998. Yeah, 98. And the last one was 2000.
But they say Blade saved Marvel.
Yeah.
And I talked about
2004, the last one. And
I talked about Blade. I talk about how a bunch of stuff in Marvel was going up for sale in like the 90s. And Oprah didn't buy it. Cosby didn't buy it. Everybody's talking about Cosby should have bought NBC. Cosby should have bought the Black Panther. That's what Cosby should have bought.
You see, so from 1998, well, let me see, to 2004 to 2018, there was no big blockbuster black superhero movie.
Well, look, this is how Hollywood works, right? I was in Hollywood for years. Hollywood is the biggest risk takers in the world. But Hollywood don't like to take risks. When you're making a film, you're taking a huge risk. And they try to mitigate those risks as much as they can. And when you're making a movie that's going to star a Black character, you've got to calculate what that market is going to be. And if you don't understand the nature of Black entertainment in America, then you're going to believe that the Black Panther or Shaft or Blade is not going to make any money. So you're not going to pour money into it because most of the movie going public in America, most of the people in America are white. So you're going to make movies catering to the major population. And you're going to rarely make movies catering to 12% of the population. But they assume that only 12% of the population is going to go see Black Panther. Look, white people don't have a problem being entertained by Black people. That's a history.
Mm.
You know, Michael Jackson, Shaft, Michael Jordan.
Even Will Smith with the 90s sitcom The Fresh Prince.
Right. Yeah. Will Smith, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Different World. You know, I mean, white people talk to me about African American television. There was one white girl that I knew. She said she loved the show Girlfriends.
Hancock, actually, to correct myself, Hancock, that Will Smith played the
Yeah.
main hero. That was the superhero. Sort of like one of these not anti-heroes, but he was like
He was a drunk.
yeah,
Yeah.
a depressed black guy.
Right.
The-
Yeah. The hero's got to have his own like quirks, but
that's the closest thing that I can see to Superman, like to a black Superman from them. Original story that I hadn't heard about, you know, which has a very interesting narrative and interesting story.
but you know, Superman can easily be black if you understand Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Superman is from a different planet. So he comes with superheroes and he comes with superpowers that people on that planet has. So anybody from that planet can come down here and be Superman.
Right.
So they might be a couple of niggas on the planet. What's the planet? Krypton?
Krypton.
Yeah, there might be a couple of brothers
They
on
blew it
Krypton.
up, so
Right.
so
So
they're finding ways. It's just like Dragon Ball Z, the anime. They
right.
find ways to recreate these characters. So one escape, and when they send that one, the other one also escape, and somehow they write it in.
They can make it, but
The funniest thing about that you said that Superman can easily be a black person. It's like because he's recharged by the sun. You know, the melanin in their skin doesn't. You know, easily there could be a lot of things that can transfer as.
So if a white boy is recharged by the sun and becomes Superman, what say you about a brother being recharged by the sun? That's from that's a 5-piece.
Right.
You know what I mean? So look, man, I'm just saying that if they don't want you to play in their ballparks, do your own ballpark.
Exactly.
Like we did Love Jones, we did Best Man. We had our own romantic comedies. White people were doing romantic comedies like crazy, and then black people were doing romantic comedies. But then I was working for a film festival years ago, and this girl was on the panel, and she said, I don't want to see another ridiculous black love story. So wait a minute. What are you talking about? There's 100 million ridiculous white love story.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you had me alone. All that stupid shit.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes money. Why can't you just accept the fact that there's gonna be ridiculous black love stories, whether you like it or not? You ain't got to say that. I don't want to see another, because she was talking about Love Jones and she was talking about whatever that basketball story was. Love and basketball. And then they had these stories that were coming out, and all of a sudden there's a ridiculous black love story. Mm-hmm. Waiting to Exhale was a ridiculous black love story. It was stupid, but it made a lot of money. Mm-hmm. You know, so at the end of the day, we got to stop shitting on our projects. Yeah. And we got to start doing projects. That's a chapter in the book about the Black Panther and what we need to do to create more Black Panthers, because we don't need just the Black Panthers. And like I said, there are other African American writers out there. I know dozens of them that if you gave them $20 million, or if you put a project together with $20 million, you will have another superhero movie. Mm-hmm. And then it will, like the Black Panther came from 1966 to 2018. That's not something like that you ain't gonna make $1.7 billion on a fucking character you created yesterday. What I'm telling you is you create the character today, and then maybe your grandkids will make $150 billion on that shit. The Black Panther came a long way. Superman came a long way. Green Lantern came a long way. People are running to make these things happen because they think they're gonna make it happen from them one day to another. You gonna have to make them. You gotta hold on to them. Yeah. You gotta keep them alive, because Black Panther stories didn't stop being created. Bruh, there must have been 400,000 comics book made about the Black Panther. Every weekend, I see these kids. I wasn't a comic book dude. But every weekend I saw these guys take their allowance money and they go buy comic books. Superman, Batman, Black Panther, Green Lantern. Oh, I'm like, what the fuck are y'all doing? Mm-hmm. I'm buying records with my money, right? But that was the journey that led up to creating a multi-billion-dollar blockbuster like the Black Panther. And secondly, when Black people took over the writing of the Black Panther, there's a guy named Reginald Hudlin who used to write for the Black Panther, and there's a guy named Christopher Priest who used to write for the Black Panther, and there's another guy, I forgot his name. He's an author. He's a like a novelist and shit. Ta-Nehisi Coates. He wrote for the Black Panther. So the Black Panther actually became black. You feel me? Because all the writers were white from before. But these brothers and Ta-Nehisi Coates, I gotta talk about that in the book. Ta-Nehisi Coates' father's name is Paul W. Coates.
He was a Black Panther.
No, I don't know if he was a Black Panther. But what I know of Paul W. Coates is he had a publishing company called, I think it was Black Classic Press. And he published all the books that I referenced, not all of them, but he published a good deal of books that I referenced in here. All the Black history books that were out of print, all the books that were written that were out of print, he republished them, right? So Ta-Nehisi Coates grew up in that. That's why the Black Panther was so rich in Black culture. That's why it was so, dude, you couldn't have made the Black Panther in 1972 like you make the Black Panther in 2018.
So them connections too.
Them connections. I got a chapter called The Connections because in the Black Panther, there's so many different connections. I mean, you're talking about Zimbabwean history, Tanzanian history, Kenyan history, Ethiopian history, Ghanaian history, Haitian history, East African American history, and it's all wrapped into this movie. And then you look at the people that were in this movie. Angela Bassett's from New York. You know, Denai Guerrera, she was okay. She's from fucking. She's her history's in Zimbabwe. Gene Allen's in Zimbabwe. Then you got Lupita Nyong'o, who's Kenyan, but you know she was born in Mexico. You know, and then you have Suri, the little girl. She's Guyanese. You know what I mean? And then you had Chad. He's from South Carolina. So
this guy, what's his name?
Mbaku, he's Trinidadian.
Trinidadian, but then the what's his name?
Killmonger.
Yeah, Killmonger.
Killmonger's from Jersey. So you know.
Then I heard that his mom is like she practices voodoo, and he spoke about that.
Really?
Yeah, it's very interesting.
I talk about voodoo in this book.
Okay.
I talk about voodoo in this book, about what voodoo really is.
Voodoo.
But I don't know if people are ready for that, but it's in here. So, you know, it's like so many things that are involved in this book, so many things involved in the Black Panther. Like, I mean, you could see something like, you could see Waiting to Exhale, you could see, you know, Shaft, you could see all these African American films. But there's nothing that's going to give you what the Black Panther has given you. And that's why I wrote this book, because it was you could see Blade, but the Black Panther itself and the future of the Black Panther is going to get more rich. Because if the people of Marvel read this, they'd be like, oh shit, we could really do some stuff with this book, with this movie now. And it's just a matter of, for me, this book is a Bible for Black people to say, this is who we are. This is what we can do. This is what we're gonna do. And that is very important. The most important thing is what you're gonna do. Not what you can do, not what you want to do, what you're gonna do. And this book gives you the capabilities to show you what's been done, what's being done, what needs to be done, what has to be done, and what you better do.
Do you have anything on the writer of the director of the movie? On what's his name again?
Ryan
Coogler?
Ryan Coogler. Yeah, Ryan Coogler is Ryan Coogler is a strange dude. Ryan Coogler.
Oh, you got a thumbs up. So.
Where life?
No. When you do gestures and stuff,
No.
It just makes
Ryan Coogler sounds like the most ghettoest dude in the world. He's not the dude with the niceties of language. he sounds street as hell, but he's one of the smartest dudes I've ever met, and he's got incredible talent. He knows what he's doing, and I just think he hasn't gotten started yet. He hasn't gotten started. He did Fruitvale Station,
Oh yeah.
and that was a nice movie, but he did a great job in that film, but that film didn't show his real talent. I think Creed showed his real talent, and the Black Panther really showed his real talent. But the guy is incredible. He's smart, and I hope he continues doing what he's doing. I mean, that whole cast.
They're working on part 3 now.
Yeah, that whole cast is incredible. That whole cast. I don't see any slouches in that film. You know, you watch a movie and you see even the bit part people. You know, the little girl that was the robotic chick. Well, she wasn't a little girl, but she was with Suri working on stuff with the robotic stuff. She was an incredible actress.
Oh, the little girl.
Yeah. She ain't a little girl. I think she's like 25.
Oh.
But she was doing her thing. And even she was good because, you know, the small roles were even awesome in the Black Panther. You know, even in Baku, the gorilla god,
Mm-hmm.
and the gorilla king. You know, I mean, yeah, that was a big role, but he was when that camera hit that nigga,
Mm-hmm.
he popped.
It's the energy.
Yeah, he popped. The same thing with well, Forrest Whitaker is Forrest Whitaker, but he didn't have a big role in the movie. But
Right.
but
She was like
Forrest Whitaker,
Full Fasa.
yeah, he was forgot his name was Zuri. He was Zuri, the medicine guy. So and then when I saw Black Panther 2, the same thing, Wakanda Forever. He knows how to cast. He's like a good football coach.
Mm-hmm.
He knows how to make you do well, and you know that he's a young cat too. So I think he did an incredible job on that. And I remember when he when they did the scene in in Wakanda Forever, and Angela Bassett. Was that Wakanda Forever? I think it was Wakanda Forever. And Angela Bassett walked into the United Nations thing.
Oh yeah.
When she walked that scene, I was like, I'm looking at Angela Bassett, and I'm like, wait, is she really a queen? Because what I saw was royalty. I didn't see Angela Bassett. I saw Hapset Shut. I saw Queen Ty. I saw, Amarinus. I saw so many African, ancient, and decades. I sat there, I had to cover my erection, and I was like, yo, she looks great. But the way he blocked that scene, the way he made her look, it was so real. Again, Wakanda is real,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
How do you see the importance of film and creativity and production in order to level people up into what they are capable of doing? Because when people saw these characters in the film, they were like transported to another world and believed in themselves to a point that, oh, I can make something like that maybe one day. So what do you think, how important film and creating these masterpieces is for Black people all over the world?
I think it is very important. I give it to you this way. Everybody likes to talk about who's better, Prince or Michael Jackson. And I always tell people if there was no Michael Jackson, there'd be no Prince. Because when Michael Jackson was a child, he's 9, 10, 11 years old, his peers were grown ass people. His peers was Gladys Knight, Diana Ross, the Four Tops, the Temptations. He was on the road with these people. This little 12-year-old boy, he was on Ed Sullivan doing his thing. And he inspired so many fucking people. I'm not just talking about Michael Jackson, because the Jackson 5s and the Jackson They were an incredible group. But the inspiration that Michael Jackson gave the world in music and performance is the same thing that film and television does. When you see a great film, when you see a great television show, you see a great actor, you see a great dancer, you see a great baseball player, you want to emulate that. And if that's your thing, that's what you're going to do. There was a show back in the day when I was a kid called A Different World. And it was about colleges, right? You know how many African American kids went to college because of that show? They went to college because they thought that that's what college was like. And in a way, it is kind of like that. But what they never showed in A Different World was actually the classes and the calculus whooping your ass. They just saw the community, the camaraderie, and they went for that. And some of them got PhDs, law degrees, and all that stuff. So it is very important. That's why I'm happy my man Andrew told me to write this book, because I didn't know how fulfilling of a journey this would be for me to write this book. And if I may say so myself, I didn't know how good of a book this was going to be to help other people on their journey. So when I see Blade and Black Panther and all this stuff, I see myself hopefully making a film. Maybe not a Black Panther, maybe not a Blade, but a film. Like, for example, when Michael Jackson was making records, you know, if you aspire to be Michael Jackson, and you only hit 10% of Michael Jackson's capability, you're still a bad motherfucker. Because 10% of Michael Jackson is a platinum record.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's Michael Jackson. So if that's the level of inspiration that hits you, then a whole bunch of shit is gonna fucking go in your way. So yeah, man, whether it's baseball, your people, what do you Latinos? When I was a kid, right? I knew when I was like 9, 10 years old, I knew Dominicans were going to take over baseball. I had tickets, right, to the Mets. 2 tickets, box seats over the dugout, right? And my boy, Frankie, he's Dominican, loved baseball. And his brother loved baseball. So I was on punishment. I couldn't go to the game. My mother said, I can't go to the game. She said, you better do something with them tickets because you ain't going to no blasted game with the way you acting. So I gave my tickets to Frankie. And Frankie, his brother, and his father came to my house. His father comes to my house. Bob, I want to thank you for giving my son a ticket. God bless you, puppy. And he was like, it was like I saved his life or some shit. He said, you don't got more tickets? I said, no, I ain't got no more tickets. So I got, you sure? And the love. I mean, I love baseball, and I could play the shit out of some baseball.
No, yeah, I didn't know that.
What do you think this is, Nick? You're the one that passed out at me when I was training you in the park.
Okay.
So I could say that I love baseball, and I can play baseball, but Dominicans loved baseball. They were next level on that shit. I don't know what it is. It's like Ghanaians in soccer. You know what I mean? They were next level on the way they love baseball. And I just kept seeing more and more Latinos, mainly Dominican. I mean, A-Rod's Puerto Rican. No, A-Rod's Dominican. He's Dominican. A-Rod was a bad motherfucker, right? But I saw more and more Latino. There were a lot of Puerto Ricans playing baseball too, but not like the Dominicans. And so Dominicans were inspired by an American sport. Their inspiration got them to take over the damn sport.
Interesting.
You know what I'm saying?
It's like something, again, America being the forefront of
Right.
culture and
Right.
something else, that they gave the world, and So when people say that Americans don't have any culture, because that's something that I've heard a lot. Americans don't have any culture.
Americans or African Americans?
In general, Americans.
You moved the book onto the pyramid?
Yeah, just
That's dope.
I was like, I should have been doing that from the beginning, so we could just point right
Yeah.
here. The book is
Read
right.
the book.
But no, so a lot of people say Americans don't have culture, but then a lot of the things that they do is influenced by Americans. Because the fact is that Americans don't have a dance now. There's not a dance. You're like, oh, that's an American dance. But then there's hip hop. Then there's all these things. There's line dancing. All these things that are American. But like for like
There's no such thing as American.
okay, there you go.
America. Look, the shit about some white people that trips me out is just mind-boggling. They said they don't like multiculturalism. What they may say they don't like multiculturalism. It's just saying they don't like spics, niggas, and chicks.
Mm.
Because America, if you move all the Chinese, Indians, Asians, and Latinos out of the country, it's still a multicultural society.
Right.
You got Germans, Irish,
Italian,
English, Italian,
Ukrainians,
Greeks, Ukrainians.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a multicultural society. They just don't like the long dick
Yeah.
cultures.
Well, not only that, but they don't like to look so far back.
Right.
Because they're now the new society.
Right. So America really has no culture except for the Native American culture, which includes the Mexicans, and the African American culture, the Black culture, and a mixture of every other thing. Because you know, you're gonna love this. I think I told you this. Funk music, right?
Mhm.
James Brown said this, so I'm not just talking. Funk music, James Brown said that the first drummer that brought the funk into music, the funk beat into music, was Little Richard's drummer. Little Richard took his drummer down to the rail yards and said, yo, you hear the sound the train is making? And the train's like,
No way.
and Little Richard said, what notes are those? He said, Brother Rich, those are eighth notes. He said, that's what I want you to play. And I want you to kick the drum like you playing bass also. When you hit that kick drum, I want you to pretend it's a bass because we ain't got a bass player.
Oh wow.
So Little Richard told his drummer how to execute what he needed for his music. That drummer was half Dominican.
Really?
Yeah. So I think his mom's was Dominican or something like that. So, you got American culture that's woven in that is incredible. Now, I don't know this for sure. I don't know if this is true. This is just my assumption. There's a guy named Bernard Edwards, right? He played bass for a band called Chic. Now, Bernard Edwards was from Brooklyn, right? And they were coming up in the 60s. Bernard Edwards has a distinct way of playing bass. He dances on the bass. He has some of the most iconic bass lines in the history of popular music. I mean, he is incredible. You know that song Rapper's Delight? I said hip.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, Rapper's Delight came out of a song called Good Times. And it was like don't, 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 don't,
Oh,
don't,
yeah.
don't, don't, don't. And like I said, I don't want to start no shit with no black folks. But I got a feeling that Bernard Edwards was influenced by calypso bass. Because calypso bass is very, very it's moving. Calypso bass just stays moving. And I got a feeling that he was influenced by calypso bass because his phrasing was like that. So, having said that, and about your Dominican partner, America's culture is a combination of world culture, which makes it so dope. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm Caribbean, right? So we eat roti, right? And I want a roti so bad, but it's late. Ain't no roti shops open. It's like fucking 2 in the morning. I just got back from Dallas, and I want a roti. Right, there's this 24-hour supermarket on Bedford Avenue. So I rolled up in there, and I got tortillas. Right, got soft tortillas, the burrito joints,
Mm-hmm.
and I had some chickpeas, and I had some curry in the house. So I made China curry, right? And I threw that motherfucker in the burrito. It was close to a roti, no cigar, but it was close. So that's what I'm saying. You can make a motherfucking roti out of a like in India it's called, well, in certain parts of it it's called chapati, but you can make a delicacy that you normally have in your country or your culture with some Mexican shit. You know what I mean? The same thing, and that's what happens in America. You know, like Carlos Santana, they used to say, you know, they used to say he played Latin music. And Carlos Santana said, no, we don't play Latin music. We play African music. I beg to differ with Carlos Santana. He plays Black American music, right? With African music, because the Afro-Latina phrasing in his music is African. So he plays African American music and Afro-Latina music or Latino music. I don't know how you
Afro-Latino.
Afro-Latino music. So like, oye, como va, feliz, vengo para gozar, mulata. That whole,
Mulat.
mulata, I'm sorry, mulata. And all that shit has that Latin rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
And he said
Latin.
right, fuck
Can't
it.
say Latin.
We ain't gonna get into it.
That's
All that shit has that
African.
that Afro, you know, Mufongo, let's call it Mufongo. The Afro Mufongo type rhythm. And so they combine that, but it's still that portion of music is African music. The 3-chord blues that he's playing that drives the foundation for his music, in my opinion, is distinctly the African American music, because African American music does not come from Africa.
Right.
It goes to Africa.
Okay.
It doesn't come to Africa. Come to America.
It was born here.
It was born here. All that.
So that's the interesting part about like the American experience, what we call African American today.
The foundation of this culture is Black.
It's here. It's like it wasn't like, of course, there's some things that travel, of course, but the fact that it didn't have like a solid attachment, like for example, Cuba, Puerto Rico, and Dominican Republic, we have a lot of those cultures that remain there and that were shunned, but they were still practicing it regardless, because even Catholicism, they still influence a lot of the
only difference between the so-called Latin American community and the Black community is the language.
Right.
You know, you got
in general, because even Haitian and Dominicans is the language.
exactly what I was gonna say. If the Haitians were speaking Spanish, they'd be Dominicans. You know what I mean? And that's the thing that bugs me out about Spanish people or Latin America.
Or if the Dominicans spoke French, they were Haitian.
Right. Because that's just the groove, you know what I mean? It's like Haitians don't call themselves French. Dominicans call themselves Latino, which is fucking stupid.
That we're giving to.
You're right.
You know?
So
But Haitians are Latinos too, by the way.
we're all Latinos because we speak in English, Spanish, French, German, Italian. That's all Latin-based languages. So, you know, it ain't fucking Zulu. It ain't fucking Tweet.
German, well, German, they say Germanic, right? But German, yeah, whatever.
Okay. Yeah, you have it the way you want,
English
you know what I mean?
Germanic.
But the thing about it is, the foundation of American culture is Black. We set the standard for all that shit. You know, whether it's medicine, whether it's science, whether it's farming, whether it's music, you know, technology, that all came from a Black foundation. You know what I mean? And you take anything that's so-called white, you know, you can't really rock that on a global level. You can't take an Irish folk song to a block party and rock a block party with that shit. You can't rock a block party with Italian music. You know, When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore. You ain't gonna do that shit on fucking Fulton Street.
Right.
You know what I mean? But make my funk the P-Funk, you play that shit in an Italian neighborhood, everybody's on the dance floor dancing.
That's true.
So that little analogy I made about black music being the foundation for rocking a block party, black people, black culture is the foundation for rocking this whole country. You know what I mean? And, name me anything white that's cultural, and I'll give you the black foundation. You know? I give
That's crazy.
Gucci music.
I was like,
You can't.
because obviously rock and roll would be the number one that people would say, but that's also
That's rhythm and blues.
yeah.
That's white boys screaming.
And I saw
Start singing.
is that Little Richie? Is it Little Richie that talked about that he took the
Did you say Little Richie?
Little Richie. What's his name?
Little Richard.
Little Richard. That's the Little Richie though, right? But he's a dancer, right? Little Richie's there.
You know who the hell Little Richie is, nigga?
Okay, Little Richard. He took the I saw this recently on a video that he took the Beatles on tour, and from him taking them on tour, they used to make like a very little money, and then he took it up under him, and they blew up. But I had never heard of that story until he said it.
You gotta remember, Little Richard, at
Yeah.
one point in American history.
Is he a dancer too, right? Who's his dancer?
No, he's a piano player and a singer.
Who's that dancer?
Little Richard is an old soul. His career, he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
But at one point, Little Richard was the biggest act in the world. At one point, Little Richard was fucking Kanye West or Jay-Z or Michael Jackson. It was Little Richard that was running the show, and he was killing it. And he ran into a lot of musicians, and he was a nice guy, really nice guy. He helped a lot of musicians out. He wrote them songs. He told them how to sing. He told them how to move. He told them how to play piano. He told them how to construct their shit. He told them how to dress. He told them how to wear makeup. He told them how to do everything. So Little Richard at some point was the foundation for music on a global level, because there were people in Africa listening to Little Richard, and with Little Richard came Sam Cooke and Billie Holiday and Dinah Washington and Screaming Jay Hawkins and Wilson Pickett and a whole bunch of other people. James Brown came out of Little Richard School. So Little Richard didn't just help the Beatles; he helped a bunch of people.
Mm-hmm.
And he's an icon. Everybody wants to talk about the fact that he was gay, but are you trying to sleep with him or are you trying to listen to the music?
Make some music.
You know what I mean? So Chuck Berry too. Chuck Berry was an icon who taught people how to use the chord progression for rock and roll. So you got rock and roll, black. You got fried chicken, black. You got collard greens, black. Farming in this country,
No, that's a big one.
black. Black people taught these white folks how to farm.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know how to farm. Where are you from? England. What you farming in England?
Mm-hmm. Potatoes.
What you farming in Ireland? Okay? They did not plant watermelon, peaches, apples, and shit like that. So farming, just your food.
But then you see
your science and technology.
The shame is one of the biggest things, right? Like to me, shame was one of the biggest poison put into people. To be ashamed of where they come from, where they go. Then everybody wanted to leave the farms to come to the cities, and the trap. This is still happening, the migration, because even if you're from a small town or countryside to come into a city, that's a migration.
But it's not that they didn't want to farm. It's just that big agribusinesses took over farming, and the farmers couldn't make money. I know a bunch of guys that farm that love it. Right. They make a good living and they love farming. Me, I'm not gonna milk cows and all that shit. But farming is beyond milking cows. Farming is, corn, peaches, apples. Every day, every weekend they have the farmers market come out here. Right. These guys are bringing milk, they're bringing fresh fruits, fresh vegetables. Either they farm and they exchange that for money. It's just that agribusiness has fucked up the farm. All over Long Island used to be farms. The Green Acres shopping mall,
Oh yeah,
that used to be farm.
I was thinking about that recently. Like I was walking around in where was I, in Brooklyn or in the Bronx? No, I was in Brooklyn and or Queens around there. And then I was just this thought came to my mind. I was like, how did wait? Because we got a Jamaican Avenue, we got a Nassau County. It's like how do these cities develop, or how who named these places, and then what did they look like back in the
Ithaca.
in the days?
Ithaca is Native American.
Ithaca.
Poughkeepsie is Native American.
Uh-huh.
Even
here in like Canarsie. Canarsie Native American. I'm like the names didn't change, so the evidence is still there. To say like
Buffalo Avenue. Look.
But and then I wonder like what did it look like? Because I can't fathom to see people riding horses in Brooklyn. Like there were horses in Brooklyn. My was it science teacher? He told me that they like that stable like that they have the thing they have with a horse race. A stable, right? Stable or what's that called with the horses race?
A track.
No, but what is it called? The whole thing, whatever that thing with the horses race. But they said that all this was farmland. Brooklyn was all farmland. He remembers like running around Brooklyn and it was all farmland. But in my mind, I don't see that. I don't see the history of Brooklyn.
They took it away.
But I don't see it being made like when they talk about back in the 1920s, right? In the 1920s, it's about the dancing and the thing, but they don't show what the people. They only show the upper echelon and the rich, but they don't ever show. And that's why, like stories like El Campesino, which is a story that I'm working on, I want to make these stories because that's when the history was erased. When all these, and this is something that they don't talk about either, all the orphanages that were here in New York. You see all these kids, where are their parents and why did they put them in orphanages and where did those orphanages went? So there's a lot of hidden stories, history in New York that when those things open up, or if they want to open up, or if we want to talk about it, it changes the narrative because that's the point that they changed from Indians, because they used to call black people Indians, to Negro, from Negro to color, from color to black. And so the transition of forgetting, and that's one of the biggest important thing. And then you're doing it here in your book. You're bringing that to like activate your chip. And I heard recently that Haile Selassie, when the crowning of Haile Selassie happened, there was a reactivation of melanin that happened all throughout the world. That like when his coronation happened, he chanted in some. This is something that I saw on the internet. I don't know how true or not it is, but then my boy, he's like, oh yeah, he's a direct descendant from this Shuwa. And I was like, "That's you." I was like, well, "What?" So there's a lot of things that in history was hidden, and it all started to me like the 1800s. Like they just started like erasing.
Like melanin is a dangerous topic for people to talk about because a lot of people don't understand melanin. But melanin is a neurotransmitter, and melanin can be at times a liquid or a gas or a spark. So, this is why I'm telling you, black people are some scary motherfuckers because a lot of times you don't know what you're dealing with. Melanin can be a solid because it's in the cells of your skin. Nobody's really gotten into what melanin is. And it's power, but there's something more powerful than melanin in black people. And that I will remain silent about. But at the end of the day, anything is possible.
This guy said I'll remain silent.
Sure, anything is possible. But, because when you talk about vibe, chemical reactions, and all this stuff, you know, there's so many different chemicals in your body. And sometimes these things are not even chemicals. They're trying to sell melanin now, bro.
I've heard about that.
You know, but I don't know if that's real melanin. But it's an important component for humanity, and I don't even like to discuss it because I don't know too much about this.
Oh,
shit.
yeah.
A little bit about
Yeah.
it.
No, but all that to say, you know, like the history of the world is very interesting, and it's in a state where everyone has access to learning certain things, right? Now it's a dangerous topic too because now the history that people are learning, it's skewed. And then when it comes to the skewing of history, the manipulation of information, now we're tapping into AI. People are considering AI to be the all knowing God in this modern society. When you type something and it gives you the answer, you take that for a fact. Would you learn that AI told me this, blah blah blah? But then the input information again, and the AI is information input by humans, right? So which information is it that we're ingesting, we're digesting. And it's great to see that you wrote a book with a lot of collection information. You did a lot of digging, a lot of research into something that hopefully, you know, when people are referring to books, history books, your books get referred to, you know, looked into and studied and you know, because it's a lot of research that people have to do in order sometimes to find a recompilation of information throughout years and find it in one place. So thank you for making your book, and I hope everyone goes out and looks into it. It's available on Amazon. It's available on
It's gonna be on TikTok
it's gonna
soon.
be on TikTok. It's gonna be on Rising.
Yeah, it's gonna be on everything we can get it going on, and try to make it happen. You know, and try to move on to the next project and the next project.
Yeah. So thank you, Rajan, for
Yeah,
your
yeah.
hard work of putting in all these years and many more books to come. So thank you all for watching. Thank you.
He made the cover.
I worked on the cover,
He made
and
the
we're working on, you know, helping great stories come to life. Have a good one. Sorry. Any final words you want to say to the people before we close it out?
Just go out there and study and learn and understand that you need to do something in life and you need to make something in life or you need to make something happen. You don't have to write a book, you don't have to design a car, but you got to make something happen. And go out there, use AI to help you find what you need to find. Use, best intelligence to use is not artificial intelligence. The best intelligence to use is intelligence around you, the people. They're not artificial. They're real intelligence. And that's all artificial intelligence is. Real intelligence given to you in another way.
All right. Well, thank you. With that, we say sayonara.